Welcome to What Will You Survive? I'm Michael Martin, and for those of you who've been living under a rock for the last month, the United States has been rocked by 2 hurricanes, and now Hurricane Maria just slammed into Puerto Rico. On August 25th, Hurricane Harvey made landfall in Texas, and on September 10th, Hurricane Irma did the same to Florida. Both places were affected negatively for 3 reasons. 1, people don't plan. 2, people put too much trust in the government and the system. And 3, we as a society have become too spoiled and as such have become ignorant to reality. Now there are many problems that could be discussed. However, some things seem to be common in both situations. As I said, the lack of preparedness in the 4 basic necessities of shelter, water, fire, and food seem to be lacking. The first is due to arrogance that bad things don't happen to them. Then they do, and everyone is shocked and overwhelmed.
We're pretty butthurt about it.
Putting out Facebook filters and virtue signaling to the network of friends they have, saying that they care, when in fact all they're doing is feeding their own vanity. Lastly, call it a result of a somewhat capitalist society that can provide so much at a moment's notice, but we've become too dependent upon a very fragile system. A system of just-in-time deliveries and information that instead of learning, we depend on pulling up at the push of a button. The reality is, at some point, you will all be in a dire situation. The good news is that those main problems I just mentioned are entirely avoidable. For starters, preparedness is the name of the game. Prepping requires 3 things that don't get enough hype. They're thought, action, and imagination. You need to imagine all the scenarios that can happen to you on any given day, big or small. Then order them in the likelihood of possibility. Then apply the thought process and how you would avoid or fix the problem. And finally, take the required action. Now, if you're watching and chuckling to yourself, you are the problem.
Shut up!
The arrogant and ignorant don't take things seriously. Sadly, this tends to be the bulk of our society, and we're all guilty of being complacent at one time or another. As sad as that is, it's fortunately the easiest thing to fix. It's mental. Change your train of thought and assess situations when they happen. Decide what you can do to better prepare yourself. Finally, we're surrounded by a fragile system, and our society is too dependent upon it. Thus, when the foundation gets pulled out from under the system, our dependency is so heavy that the floor breaks. In order to avoid this, you need to take action on what went wrong in your situation. Get the things you need now, so when the next crisis arrives, the only concern you'll have is implementing your plan and weathering the storm, whether actual or metaphorical. So, in conclusion, if the 4 basic necessities piqued your interest, I've got good news. I'm launching a 4-part series dedicated to each one of those basic necessities, in hopes that it will give you the basic information you need to improve your situation the next time something happens. Stay tuned next week for videos, and remember, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. Good night.